Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today we're setting sail into the huge, vibrant, and often pretty treacherous world of One Piece. Our listeners sent over this fantastic packet, basically a treasure trove of research analyses, fan discussions, everything about this incredible saga.
Indeed, it's a One Piece lore research directive, you could say, packed with insights into, truly one of the most complex fictional worlds out there.
Yeah.
So our mission today, we're going to try and distill the core stuff for you. The unique geography, the combat systems, the big factions fighting for control, and those deep, deep mysteries that drive the whole story.
Right. So if you've been wondering about the grand design or just need a better grip on why things work the way they do in this world, this deep dive is your shortcut. Let's jump in.
Okay, so to really get the scale of One Piece, we got to start with the foundation, the world itself. And like you said, it's not just a pretty backdrop. It's almost actively shaping destiny. That's a great way to put it. The sources really emphasize how the planet's physical structure, it dictates the adventure, and it concentrates power.
How so?
Well, picture the world cut by two huge perpendicular structures, like a giant cross. You've got the red line, this massive continent that circles the globe, almost impossible to cross.
Okay.
And then intersecting that is the Grand Line, this incredibly dangerous sea route.
So it's like a giant X dividing the world.
Exactly. It splits the oceans into four blues, east, west, north, and south. And the Grand Line itself, well, it's infamous.
Right, the pirate graveyard. I've heard that.
Yeah, the weather's insane, currents are unpredictable, magnetic fields go haywire. Normal navigation, forget about it.
That sounds intense.
And it's not random. The layout is strategic. The world government's holy land, Murray Joie, it's right there at one of those intersections, Red Line and Grand Line.
So prime real estate for control.
Precisely. It's a physical statement of dominance over global travel, over trade, everything.
Wow, and it gets even tougher to navigate, doesn't it? These calm belts.
Oh yeah, the calm belts. Two strips of ocean running parallel to the Grand Line. Absolutely zero wind, zero currents. Sailing is impossible.
So you're just stuck.
Stuck, and worse, they're infested with sea kings, colossal sea monsters, just massive. They'll destroy any normal ship that drifts in. Imagine trying to sleep knowing those things are swimming underneath you.
Yeah, no thanks.
No.
So how does anyone even get to the Grand Line then?
The main way in is Reverse Mountain. It's this crazy phenomenon where currents from all four blues actually flow up the mountain.
Well,
Yep, defying gravity, and then dump ships right into the start of the Grand Line. And once you're in the Grand Line, the Red Line cuts that in half too. The first part is called Paradise.
yeah, it's nice.
Relatively speaking. The second half is the New World. Far more dangerous, way more lawless.
Okay, so this world design, it's practically forcing you down these incredibly difficult paths. What does that do to the people living there? What's the impact?
Well, it means the world itself acts like a filter, doesn't it? Crossing these barriers, getting into the Grand Line, surviving the New World. It's proof of your power, your ambition.
So it's select for the toughest.
Exactly. The calm belts are like natural prison walls and a power check. You hear the East Blue called the weakest sea. It's partly because only the really strong or really determined even make it out into the Grand Line.
Right.
It's a kind of geographic sorting hat, And the Marines, they have a huge advantage. They use sea stone on their warships.
Sea stone, that's the stuff that nullifies devil fruit powers.
That's the one. It also masks their ships from the Sea Kings, so they can cross the calm belts whenever they want, projecting power globally in a way most pirates just can't.
That's a massive strategic edge. Okay, so we've got this brutal, challenging world. Now, let's talk about how people actually fight and gain power within it. Devil fruits and Haki, these seem absolutely fundamental.
They absolutely are. And they're not just cool powers. They represent this really interesting mix of innate ability, sheer willpower, and maybe even collective desire.
Collective desire. Okay, intriguing. Let's start with devil fruits, the Akuma no Mi. Famous, right? Gives you powers, but you can't swim.
Exactly. You eat one, you get a permanent superhuman ability. The catch, the sea rejects you. If you're submerged, you lose all your strength, just sink like an anchor.
A huge drawback in a world that's mostly ocean.
Definitely. And what's really fascinating is each fruit is unique. Like one of a kind. No two identical powers exist at the same time. When a user dies, that power apparently gets reborn into a new fruit somewhere else.
So the power itself cycles back into the world.
Yeah.
Wild. And there are different types.
Yep. 3 main categories. Paramecia are the most common. They give you all sorts of superhuman abilities, making your body rubber like Luffy or creating earthquakes like Whitebeard. Just a huge variety. Then you have Zoan types. These let you turn into an animal, or a hybrid animal-human form. Great for boosting physical strength and abilities, and these range from, regular animals to dinosaurs, even mythical creatures.
Like dragons or phoenixes?
Exactly. Ancient zoans, mythical zoans. And finally, the rarest, often seen as the most powerful, Logia.
Ah, the elementals.
Right. Logia users can transform their entire body into a natural element: sand, smoke, ice, light, magma, you name it. And the big advantage, they become intangible. Most physical attacks just pass right through them.
So hitting them is a major problem unless, well, we'll get to Haki, I guess.
Yeah.
But even among Logias, there are differences, like power levels.
For sure. There's a kind of natural hierarchy. Like Akinunu's magma fruit can burn and overwhelm Ace's fire fruit. And Mastery's key, skilled users can awaken their devil fruit.
Awaken? What's that?
It means pushing the power beyond just your own body, letting it affect the environment around you, like Doflamingo turning buildings and the ground into strings he could control. It's a whole other level.
Wow. And you mentioned collective desire. What's that about?
Well, there's this theory from Dr. Vegapunk, the big genius scientist. He suggests devil fruits might actually be manifestations of what humanity deep down wishes it could be. Dreams of evolution, basically.
Like wish fulfillment made real.
Sort of. And the big example is the Hito no Mi model, Nika, the human fruit model, Nika. It's a mythical zone based on this legendary warrior of liberation figure.
Okay.
Yeah, this power embodies the desire for freedom. And significantly, the world government actively suppressed its real name for centuries, calling it something else. That tells you how potent the idea behind the fruit is.
Fruits aren't just powers. They carry meaning, even ideology. Fascinating. Okay, now the other side of the coin.
Hakiki.
Right. Hakiki. Unlike devil fruits, which you kind of stumble upon or find, Hakiki is different. It's described as a power that lies dormant in all living things. It's about spiritual energy, willpower, and crucially, it can be trained.
So anyone could potentially use it. Potentially, yes, though some forms are rarer than others. It breaks down into 3 types, or colors. First is observation Haki, Kenbunshoku Haki. Think of it like a 6th sense.
Sensing things.
Exactly. Sensing presence, power levels, emotions. Skilled users can even predict opponents' moves or get brief glimpses of the future. In Skypiea, they called it mantra.
Okay, useful. What's next?
Armament Haki, Busoshoku Hakiaki. This is like creating invisible armor around yourself or infusing weapons with it. Boosts both offense and defense.
And this is the one that lets you hit Logi users, right?
Bingo. That's the critical part. Armament Haki can bypass that Logi intangibility, letting you land solid hits. It can also negate other devil fruit defenses. There's even an advanced form called Ryo in Wado that lets you project Haki outwards or internally, causing damage without direct contact.
Nasty. Okay, and the third type?
The rarest of all. Conqueror's Haki, Haoshoku Haki. This one you can't train to acquire. You're either born with it or you're not. Only about 1 in several million people have it.
Born with it, like royalty.
It's associated with having the qualities of a king. Yeah. A natural conqueror's disposition. Its basic use is knocking out people with weaker willpower just by exerting your own.
Just knock them out with presence alone.
Pretty much. And the really powerful users, they can infuse their attacks with Conqueror's Haki, making them vastly more destructive. Again, sometimes without even needing physical contact. Think Shanks or Luffy later on.
Okay, so devil fruits feel like fate or luck, while Haki is all about willpower and training, except for conquerors. That contrast, it feels important. Why introduce Haki, especially armament, into this world?
It's absolutely crucial. I mean, think about it. Before Haki was fully explored, it seemed like Logia users were just unbeatable, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Armament Haki rebalances everything. It puts the focus back on willpower, on training, on the individual spirit. It means someone with no devil fruit, or maybe a weaker paramecia, can still stand up to a powerful Logia user if their Haki is strong enough.
So it levels the playing field in a way.
Yeah.
Makes it about more than just the luck of the draw with fruits.
Exactly. It ensures that ultimately the conflicts, the big battles, they come down to strength of character, strength of will, which is, a core theme of the whole story.
Right. Okay, so we've got the stage set as this challenging world, these incredible power systems. Now, who are the main players moving the pieces on this board? The major factions. It's definitely not just pirates versus Marines, is it?
Oh, not at all. It's much more complex, more about clashing ideologies. The central tension, according to the sources, is this really uneasy balance between the world government and pretty much everyone else who opposes them.
The world government, they're the big authority figure, right? Like the global rulers.
Yeah, they're a federation of over 170 nations. They present themselves as the force for global order, peace, stability. But that image is built on a foundation of historical lies and just overwhelming military power.
Historical lies. We'll definitely need to come back to that, but who's at the very top?
At the pinnacle, you have the celestial dragons, or the Tenryubidos, world nobles. They're the descendants of 19 of the 20 kings who founded the world government 800 years ago.
Descendants. So, inherited power.
Completely. They live in Marijois, consider themselves divine, and are literally above all law. The reports describe them as incredibly arrogant, cruel. They own slaves, wear these distinctive bubble helmets to avoid breathing the same air as commoners.
Bubble helmets. Seriously.
Seriously. It's a pretty scathing critique of inherited privilege and unaccountable power. Though the sources do mention exceptions, like Don Quixote Homing, who renounced his status, or his son M. Justgard, who showed compassion. It suggests the system itself is corrupting, maybe not the bloodline inherently.
Still, that sounds like a deeply flawed system at the top. Who actually runs things day to day?
Well, the public face of the leadership are the 5 elders, the Gorisi. They are high-ranking celestial dragons. But even they answer to someone higher.
Higher than the elders. Who?
A secret figure named Imu. This person secretly sits on the empty throne in Marijois, a throne that's supposed to be empty to symbolize equality among all the world's rulers.
So the ultimate symbol of equality is occupied.
Exactly. It reveals the core hypocrisy of the whole world government. Emu's existence is perhaps the biggest state secret they have. And enforcing their will, particularly the nobles, you have Suffer-Pol, their intelligence agency, especially CP0, who are basically the direct enforcers for the celestial dragons.
Okay, that's a pretty dark picture of the top. What about their military arm, the Marines? Are they all just following orders?
Well, the Marines are tasked with maintaining order, fighting pirates, the usual. But what's really interesting is the clash of philosophies within the Marines themselves. It's not monolithic.
Different ideas of justice?
Precisely. You have Fleet Admiral Sakazuki, also known as Akenu. He believes in absolute justice. Ruthless, uncompromising, eliminate evil at all costs.
Hardliner.
Definitely. Then you had someone like former Admiral Kuzan Aokiji, whose motto was lazy justice, more ambivalent, flexible, maybe looking the other way sometimes. And then there's Admiral Fujitora, who champions humane justice, putting civilian safety above everything else, even questioning the system itself.
So even within the good guys, there's deep disagreement on what that even means.
Right. It shows the moral complexities they face. You've got figures like Vice Admiral Garp, who's a hero but operates with his own code, or Smoker, who bends rules. It's complex.
Okay, so that's the establishment. Who stands against them? Obviously pirates, but specifically.
In the New World, the second half of the Grand Line, the dominant forces are the 4 emperors of the sea, the Yonko. These aren't just pirate crews. They're like independent nations ruling vast territories.
The big names. Who are the originals again?
Originally, it was Shanks, the legendary Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Kaido, 4 immense power.
Right. But things have shaken up recently.
Massively. After major conflicts, the current emperors are Shanks, the calculating Blackbeard, our protagonist Monkey D. Luffy, and kind of unexpectedly, Buggy the Clown.
Buggy. Okay, that's a story in itself. So these emperors, the Marines, and there used to be the warlords too, right? They formed a balance.
Yeah, the 3 great powers. It was a very fragile balance holding the world in check. The huge Marineford War, when the Marines fought the Whitebeard pirates, that showed just how catastrophic it is when that balance breaks. And Luffy's rise is shattering it even further, forcing everyone to choose sides.
So chaos is brewing. But is there anyone opposing the world government on like an ideological level, not just for territory or treasure?
Absolutely. That's the Revolutionary Army, led by Monkey D. Dragon, who the government calls the world's worst criminal.
Greg, any relation to Luffy?
His father.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
So what's their goal?
Their stated goal is the complete overthrow of the celestial dragons and the system that supports them. They're highly organized, operate globally with key figures like Chief of Staff Sabo and commanders like Ivankov, Morley, Karasu, a diverse group representing different races and backgrounds.
So they're fighting for freedom and equality directly against the Celestial Dragon's ideology of supremacy.
Exactly. They represent a fundamental philosophical threat to the world governance legitimacy.
And this kind of massive conflict, has it happened before? Any historical parallels?
There's one major one. The Rocks Pirates. They ruled the seas about 40 years ago, led by Rox D. Zebek, his ambition to become king of the world.
King of the world. Sounds ominous.
They were apparently incredibly violent and chaotic, just a collection of monstrously powerful individuals forced together. And guess who was on that crew?
Let me guess. Future big names.
You got it. Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido, even Shiki, the Golden Lion, all served under Rox.
That's insane. How were they stopped?
At a place called God Valley, there was this major incident where they were defeated by a completely unexpected team-up. Marine Vice Admiral Monkey D. Garp.
Luffy's grandfather.
Yep. Teamed up with a rookie pirate named Goldie Roger.
The future pirate king. Garp and Roger fighting together. That's incredible.
An alliance born of necessity to stop Rox. So Rox represents this path of total domination, a kind of dark mirror to the paths Roger and Luffy took, which seem more about freedom and finding something specific.
So, looking at all these factions, the controlling government, the internally conflicted Marines, the powerhouse emperors, the ideological revolutionaries, what's the biggest takeaway for you? What connects them all?
For me, connecting it all back, it's how the world government, right up to Emu on the empty throne, it's all built on this massive, carefully guarded lie. Their entire system, their justice, it's all designed to protect that secret, that illegitimate power.
Right.
So the counter forces, whether it's Luffy seeking freedom or Dragon seeking revolution, they're not just fighting battles over territory. They're fundamentally challenging that lie. They're fighting over the truth, over ideology itself.
Which leads us perfectly into the biggest secrets. That historical lie you mentioned. What is the world government hiding? What happened 800 years ago?
This is the core mystery, isn't it? And it raises that fascinating question. In a world overflowing with superpowers, why is history the most dangerous thing? Why is it the ultimate weapon?
Yeah, what's so scary about the past?
It centers around the Void Century, this 100-year gap in history from 900 to 800 years ago. It's been completely erased from all official records.
Erased, like deliberately.
Deliberately and violently, anyone who tries to research it faces annihilation. The destruction of the island of Ohara, an island of archaeologists, is the prime example. They were wiped out just for trying to study it.
That's extreme. What do we know, or what do the sources suggest happened during that century?
We know there was a kingdom, often called the Great Kingdom. Apparently it was incredibly advanced, technologically, philosophically, and it held an ideology that was a direct threat to the 20 kingdoms that eventually formed the world government.
So the winners wrote the history by erasing the losers completely.
Essentially, yes. The 20 kingdoms allied, destroyed the Great Kingdom, founded the world government, and then wiped the entire century from the books.
How is any of that history even recoverable then?
Through the poneglyphs, these massive, indestructible stone cubes scattered across the world. They're inscribed in an ancient language that only the Kazuki clan of Wano could originally read and write. They hold the true history.
The keys to the past.
Exactly. And they speak of a mysterious figure from the Void Century named Joy Boy, someone who made a promise, possibly to Fishman Island, that he couldn't keep. He's connected to the One Piece itself, and there are prophecies about his return.
Joy Boy. Okay. Another piece of the puzzle. And Goldie Roger, the Pirate King, he found the answers right.
He did. He reached the final island, Laugh Tale, read the poneglyphs there, learned the true history, but he famously said he and his crew were too early.
Too early? What could that mean? Too early to what? Change the world?
That seems to be the implication. Maybe the world wasn't ready for the truth then. Maybe the right people weren't in place, or the conditions weren't right for the revolution or change that knowledge would bring. Which leads us to another huge mystery. The Will of D.
Ah, yes, the initial D that pops up in certain names. Luffy, Roger, Garp, Dragon, Rox, Blackbeard. It's a weirdly diverse group. What does it mean?
Nobody knows for sure, but the sources hint heavily. They're often called the natural enemy of the gods, meaning the celestial dragons.
The natural enemy. So it's not just a family name.
Probably not just bloodline, no. It seems more like an inherited spirit. An ideology. It embodies concepts like profound freedom, destiny, maybe chaos, definitely defiance against the established order. People with D tend to bring a storm, disrupt things, and often face death with a smile.
A force of nature, almost, whether for good or ill, like comparing Luffy to Blackbeard or Rox.
Exactly. It represents this untamable human spirit, this drive that the rigid, controlling world government fears more than anything. They fear the truth the D might uncover or represent.
So the world government isn't just hiding ancient weapons or embarrassing secrets. They're suppressing an idea, a potential catalyst for global upheaval, tied to their own illegitimate origins.
Precisely that. The final conflict in One Piece, many speculate, won't just be about power, but about ideology, about who gets to define history and therefore the future. The truth of the Void Century is the ultimate prize and the ultimate threat.
It's incredible how these massive, world-spanning themes, geography shaping destiny, power systems reflecting will, clashing ideologies, hidden history, they aren't just background noise, they're deeply personal for the main characters, right? Especially the Straw Hat Pirates.
Absolutely. Their individual stories are like microcosms of these larger struggles. They constantly fight against tyranny, deal with discrimination, carry the weight of the past. Take Monkey D. Luffy.
Our main guy wants to be Pirate King, believes in freedom above all else.
Right. And for the longest time, we thought his power was just the Gomu Gomu no Mi, the rubber fruit, simple, kind of goofy.
Yeah.
But then came the massive reveal during the Wano arc. The five elders themselves confirmed its real name. The mythical Zoan Hito Hiko no Mi model.
Mika, the human fruit model. Nika, that's the warrior of liberation fruit you mentioned earlier.
The very same. Nika, this legendary sun god figure from the Void Century, apparently worshipped by slaves. Luffy's power isn't just rubber, it is the embodiment of freedom.
So his goofy powers were actually this legendary world-changing ability the government tried to hide.
Exactly. His awakened form, Gear 5, gives him this almost cartoonish freedom, manipulating himself and his surroundings with pure imagination, spreading laughter and joy even in battle. It directly links him to that suppressed history, to Joy Boy, to the Will of D, and his family. Son of the revolutionary leader, grandson of the marine hero, his very existence challenges everything.
Mind-blowing. What about the others, like Roronoa Zoro?
Zoro, the swordsman. His dream is to become the world's greatest swordsman, a promise made to his childhood friend Kuina. It's about mastery, ambition, fulfilling a legacy.
His three-sword style is iconic.
Totally. And he carries her sword, Wado Ichimonji. But there's more. His lineage connects him directly to Wano country, the land of samurai. He's descended from the Shimotsuki clan, which includes legendary figures like the sword god, Shimotsuki Ryuma. His personal quest echoes the history of the world's greatest warriors.
So his drive is tied to this deeper history too. And Nami, the navigator.
Nami's story is such a powerful example of liberation from oppression. She's a war orphan, raised by a former Marine, Belmer, but then the fisherman pirate Arlong takes over her island, murders Belmer.
Right, because she couldn't pay his tribute. Horrible.
Yeah, and Nami was forced to draw sea charts for him for 8 long years, stealing money constantly, hoping to buy back her village's freedom from his tyranny.
That's brutal.
It is. So when Luffy finally defeats Arlong and frees her and the village, that's not just a rescue, it's liberation. It allows her to finally pursue her own dream, to navigate the world and draw a map of everything. It perfectly mirrors the larger fight against oppressive systems like the Celestial Dragons.
Wow. So their individual goals, Luffy's freedom, Zoro's mastery, Nami's exploration, they're not separate from the world's problems. They're expressions of the fight against those problems.
Exactly. They aren't just sailing around having adventures. They're actively breaking chains, challenging legacies, fulfilling destinies tied to the core conflicts of their world. Their journey is the struggle for a freer, truer world.
Man, we have covered a lot of ground today, navigating the grand line of One Piece lore. What a deep dive.
We really did.
We've seen how this unique geography literally shapes the journey, how devil fruits and Hawakesa represent power, will, even desire, how these huge factions are clashing over fundamental beliefs.
And how history itself, the suppressed truth of the Void Century, is maybe the biggest prize and the most dangerous weapon of all.
And connecting it all back to characters like Luffy, Zoro, Nami, their personal dreams aren't just personal. They're part of that grander story, that constant fight for freedom against oppression, against the weight of the past.
It really shows how their journey is a microcosm of everything happening on a global scale. The power of will, challenging fate, uncovering truth. It's all there.
It really makes you appreciate the sheer depth of this world building, how these fantastical elements can reflect such universal human struggles.
Yeah.
The power of a good story, right?
Absolutely. It shows that even in fiction, the quest for truth, for freedom, for defining your own destiny, that resonates deeply.
So turning it back to you, our listeners, what part of this huge, intricate world resonates most with you? If you carried the will of D, what kind of storm do you think you'd bring?
Yeah, or how would you use a devil fruit combined with your own Hekachaki, your own willpower, to navigate and maybe even change this incredible, dangerous, fascinating world? Lots to think about.